You are the master of your fate. Let's begin. What if everything you've ever been told about success was missing a single silent ingredient? What if you've been working hard but with the wrong map? You've felt it, haven't you? That feeling of being so close to a breakthrough only to have it dissolve. You've chased the advice, you've read the books, you've put in the hours. But there is a silent gap between the thought and the thing, between the wish and the wealth. That gap is not filled with luck. It is not filled by hoping harder. It is filled by a blueprint, a system. The world has heard of my principles. They know of definiteness of purpose and the master mind. But what they don't know is the origin of the blueprint. They don't know the personal cost I paid to discover it. And they don't know the single daily ritual that turns thought into gold. I will not give you vague promises. I will give you a blueprint. The one I learned from the greats, the one I use myself, and the one that will finally make your desires inevitable. The blueprint was forged in despair. I stand before you today not as a man who was born into fortune, but as a man who once stood in the very same place you might be now, lost, uncertain, and struggling to make sense of it all. You read my books, you hear the stories, but you rarely hear about the wilderness I had to walk through to find the blueprint. The world remembers Andrew Carnegie as the steel magnate, the titan of industry. I remember him as the man who saw something in a young, bewildered writer who had little else but an unyielding desire to understand the hidden architecture of success. I was adrift. I had known success, but I had also known failure so absolute it felt like a physical weight on my soul. My mind and my bank account were empty. It was in that very state of desperation, not during a time of triumph, but during a time of profound crisis, that the seed for this life's work was planted. Carnegie looked at me and didn't offer me money. He offered me a challenge. He gave me a mission that seemed impossible, to study the world's most successful men and find the single universal law that governed their achievements. The truth I want you to understand is this: the most powerful principles are not discovered during ease and comfort. They are forged in the fire of personal despair. They emerge from the rubble of your deepest failures. Your lowest point is not the end of your story. It is often the very ground where your greatest work will begin. When I started to share what I was learning, when I began to speak about the power of the mind and the partnership with the universe, I was met with ridicule, not from the failures, mind you, but from the so-called experts of my time. They were men of intellect, of established position. They called my ideas mystical nonsense. They said I was giving people false hope. They preferred to believe that success was a matter of luck, a toss of the coin, not a matter of applied law. They could not accept that the most powerful force for change was something intangible, something that resided within the human mind. The lesson I learned from that resistance, the truth that became a foundation stone of my work, was this: your most powerful ideas will often be met with the most violent skepticism. People will mock what they do not understand. They will criticize what they are too afraid to try. This is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. It is a sign that you must strengthen your definiteness of purpose. Their doubt is the fire that tempers your resolve, not the water that puts it out. The Great Depression was not just an economic collapse. It was a spiritual and psychological one. Fear had become a contagion. Men had lost their fortunes, their homes, and their hope. It was into that void of despair that my message arrived. It was profoundly impactful because it was practical, not preachy. It gave a man who had lost everything a new tool, an invisible tool, to rebuild. Today, the world is not suffering from a lack of money, but from a different kind of depression. A depression of attention, a scarcity of focus, a bankruptcy of true purpose. You are bombarded by noise, by distractions, by 1,000 different paths, each one whispering a different promise. This is why my message is not just relevant, it is more critical now than it has ever been before. You have access to information, to capital, to technology that my friends could only dream of. But if you do not have a blueprint for your own mind, all of that will be for nothing. The world today is a testament to what is possible and a warning about what is wasted. It is time to stop being a casualty of your circumstances and start becoming the master of your own mental kingdom. The greatest tragedy in life is not having a definite aim. It is having a vague desire and calling it a dream. A dream is a luxury. A definite chief aim is a command. It is the rudder that steers your ship. Without it, you are a vessel adrift on an endless sea, buffeted by every changing wind and tide, never reaching a shore you truly intended to find. I want you to stop drifting. I want you to start charting a course. The blueprint I speak of, the one that turned wishes into fortunes for the most successful men I've ever known, begins here. It begins with a daily ritual. First, you must forge your definite chief aim. This is not a fuzzy notion. It is a precise declaration. I will not accept, I want to be rich. That is a feeling. I demand a fact. You must sit down with nothing but a pen and a piece of paper and write out your aim. Be specific. What is the exact amount of money you intend to accumulate? By what specific date will you have it? In return for this money, what specific service will you render? What work will you do? This is the bargain you make with yourself and with the world. It is a psychological contract. When you have written this statement, you have done more than just jot down an idea. You have created a physical object that represents a mental command. This simple act turns a whisper of a wish into a thunderous declaration. Next, you will assemble your invisible counselors. I want you to understand this is not mysticism. This is a practical psychological tool I developed and used for years. Every night before I went to sleep, I would close my eyes and visualize a council of men. There was Carnegie and Edison and Ford. There was Lincoln and Emerson and Darwin. I would imagine them all seated around a table, and I would address them one by one. I would present them with a challenge I faced. Mr. Carnegie, I would say, if you were in my shoes, what would you do about this business deal? I would then listen to their wisdom, their courage, their decisiveness. This may sound like a strange exercise, but it is one of the most powerful tools for forcing your mind to think outside its own limited patterns. It compels you to summon the traits of the great minds you admire. It teaches you to see problems from the perspective of a leader, a strategist, a titan. The very act of imagining their answer forces your own mind to rise to the occasion. Finally, you must master the art of autosuggestion. This is the method by which you reprogram your mind. It is the direct pipeline from your conscious will to your subconscious power. When you have your definite chief aim written down, I want you to find a quiet place, morning and night. Hold that piece of paper in your hand and read your aim aloud, with all the emotion and belief you can muster. Read it as if it has already been achieved. Visualize yourself doing the work, earning the money, living the life you have declared for yourself. I want you to do this every single day. You are not just reading words. You are speaking a command. You are bombarding your subconscious mind with a single, definite purpose until it has no choice but to accept it as reality. The subconscious is a field. Your definite aim is the seed. And autosuggestion is the constant, unyielding rain that makes that seed grow into a tangible harvest. This is the foundation. It is the work you do in the quiet hours, when no one is watching. It is the work that precedes the victory. You have the blueprint now. You have the daily ritual. But listen to me carefully. A man with a powerful mind and a burning desire, who does not act, is a man who has forged a powerful sword, but has no hands to wield it. The greatest tragedy of all is a brilliant mind paralyzed by inaction. Thought is the beginning of all things, but it is not the thing itself. The bridge between the mental blueprint and the physical reality is built with a master plan and relentless, methodical action. This is where faith must be matched by deeds. Andrew Carnegie did not simply visualize a world of steel. He engineered it piece by piece. He had his definite chief aim to dominate the steel industry, but he also had a mastermind group that met weekly to solve problems. He had a meticulous plan for every single mill, every single worker, every single shipment. His success was not the result of a single grand idea. It was the result of 1,000 small, disciplined actions repeated every single day. The same was true for Thomas Edison. He did not simply wish for a light bulb. He had a definite aim, yes, but he also had a definite plan of action. That plan was to test and fail, test and fail, test and fail, with an unyielding commitment to finding a solution. He understood that every failure was not a setback, but a data point. His faith was in his aim, but his work was in the method. Henry Ford did not wish for a car in every garage. He built an assembly line, a system of motion and precision that made his vision an inevitable reality. These men did not just think, they planned. They did not just dream, they acted. This is the bridge I ask you to build today. Take your definite chief aim and break it down. What is the very first, single, non-negotiable step you must take in the next 24 hours to move closer to that aim? It must be a physical action, not another hour of research, not another day of thought. An action. You are not a spectator in your own life, you are the architect. And an architect must draw the blueprint, then pick up the tools and begin to lay the first brick. This brings me to the critical importance of specialized knowledge. There is a vast difference between general knowledge and specialized knowledge. A man who knows a little bit about everything knows nothing of value to anyone, but a man who knows everything about one thing, the one thing that is required to achieve his definite chief aim, holds a powerful key to success. Your plan requires you to acquire a skill. It requires you to become an expert in a specific field. Your mind is a tool. Specialized knowledge is the sharpening stone. It is the fuel you use to run the engine of your master plan. You must become a student again. You must identify the one or two key areas you need to master and dedicate a specific amount of time each day to learning and applying that knowledge. Do not just consume information, use it. Take it and build something with it. The greats I knew were not just thinkers, they were relentless learners. They were not just dreamers. They were tireless workers who understood that their greatest tool was not in their hands, but in their mind, a mind they constantly trained and sharpened. You have the blueprint. You have the plan. But you know this truth. Deep down, the greatest enemies you will ever face are not external forces. They are not the economy, or your competition, or your circumstances. The most dangerous saboteurs are the ones hiding in the dark corners of your own mind. They are the whispers that tell you to wait, to doubt, to reconsider. They are the three quiet killers of every great dream: indecision, procrastination, and the fear of criticism. Let us confront them. First, indecision. It is not just a lack of choice, it is a profound fear of being wrong. It is the man who believes that if he just gathers one more piece of information, reads one more book, or waits for one more sign, he will be saved from making a mistake. He is not. He is only saved from progress. A mediocre plan acted upon with speed and conviction is infinitely more powerful than a perfect plan that dies on the vine of indecision. The world is filled with brilliant men who are perpetually on the verge of greatness. They are always almost there. I will tell you now, with all the firmness in my voice, make a decision. The wrong decision is still 100 times better than no decision at all, for at least with a wrong one, you learn, you adjust, and you move on. The natural child of indecision is procrastination. This is the silent assassin. It is the act of putting off until tomorrow what you know you must do today. I have seen countless men with the fire of a great idea in their eyes who then allow that fire to be slowly extinguished by the gentle hand of procrastination. They tell themselves, I will start tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes, and the day after that is always a new tomorrow. You must see procrastination for what it truly is, a monument to the fear of starting. It is the subconscious mind's way of protecting you from the discomfort of effort and the possibility of failure. But there is a greater discomfort, the quiet, gnawing pain of a life not lived, of potential not realized. Finally, we have the most crippling of all, the fear of criticism. This is a thief of dreams who operates in broad daylight. You have a great idea, but what will they say? What will they think? What will your family, your friends, your peers say when you dare to step outside the familiar lines? Let me tell you a secret. They will always say something. They will criticize the person who tries and the person who doesn't. So their opinions are a worthless compass. The man who fears criticism will never do anything worth criticizing. Your only duty is to your own conscience and to your definite aim. Your legacy is not in the opinions of others, but in the deeds you leave behind. The antidote to these saboteurs is not a new idea. It is the fire you must stoke every single day. It is your burning desire. Your desire for your goal must be so powerful that it makes indecision impossible. It must be so fierce that it melts away the resistance of procrastination. It must be so bright that it blinds you to the shadows of criticism. A strong desire is an emotional state, a feeling, a deep-seated obsession that becomes a physical force. You must cultivate this desire until the possibility of failure is no longer an option, but a profound and absolute impossibility. You must fan the flames of your purpose until they burn hotter than your fear. Ask yourself this right now: is your desire a whisper or a roar? The answer to that question is the honest truth about your future. We have walked a path together. We have uncovered the hidden foundation of this blueprint, forged the daily ritual, built the bridge of action, and confronted the silent saboteurs that have kept you from your true potential. The time for listening is over. The time for passive consumption of knowledge is finished. The only thing separating a man who listens from a man who lives is action. I have given you the map. Now you must start walking. I am not going to ask you to try. I am going to demand that you commit. I am issuing a challenge to you right now. For the next 30 days, you will follow this blueprint with an unshakable resolve. This is not an experiment. This is a period of reconditioning. It is a deliberate effort to dismantle the mental habits of a lifetime and replace them with the habits of a king. For 30 days, you will perform your auto-suggestion ritual without fail, morning and night. You will speak your definite chief aim into existence until it is no longer just a desire, but a profound and absolute conviction. For 30 days, you will spend time with your invisible counselors, borrowing their wisdom and their courage. And most importantly, for 30 days, you will take one single definitive action toward your goal. No matter how small, no matter how insignificant it may seem, you will not let a day pass without building one new brick in the foundation of your future. Your abundance is not a matter of luck, it is a matter of law. You must align yourself with that law, and you do so with consistent daily work. This is not the end of our journey, but the very beginning of yours. The knowledge in this blueprint is a starting point. It is a spark. You must continue to fan the flame. Your greatest resources are not things, but people. Look for those who are on a similar path. Find a partner. Create a mastermind group of your own. Share your aims and hold each other accountable. The journey to abundance is not a lonely one. It is a path that is traveled most effectively in the company of other great minds who share a definite purpose. Continue to learn, continue to grow. Never stop seeking that specialized knowledge that will make you a master of your chosen field. My final words to you are these: the universe is not stingy. It is not an adversary. It is a mirror. It will give you back exactly what you have offered it. If you have offered it fear, it will reflect fear. If you have offered it doubt, it will return doubt. But if you offer it a definite aim, a burning desire, and a relentless, unwavering action, it will reflect back to you the profound and absolute abundance that you were put on this earth to claim. You were not born to want. You were not born to struggle. You were born with a destiny to fulfill, and the only thing standing between you and that destiny is a decision. Make it. Make it now. The world is waiting for your deeds. Go forth and begin now. Key takeaways and action steps. Forge your definite aim. Write out your primary goal with absolute specificity. Include the exact amount, the deadline, and the service you will render in return. This is your command. The daily ritual. Practice autosuggestion every morning and night. Read your definite chief aim aloud with emotion and visualize its achievement. This is the conversation with your subconscious. The power of action. Break your large goal into a master plan of small daily actions. A ship with a rudder is useless without an engine. Your diligence is the engine. Defeat the saboteurs. Recognize your personal enemies. Indecision, procrastination, and the fear of criticism, and confront them with a burning desire so fierce it makes failure an impossibility. The 30-day challenge. Commit now to following this blueprint for 30 days without fail. Do the work in the quiet hours and watch as your outer world begins to reflect your inner conviction. Remember, your success begins the moment you decide to act.